saying that.
I do have a suggestion if you want it. Do you have a listserv?
What's that?
Do you have a listserv?
No, we don't.
So if we set one up on like groups.io, which I can do in about 5 minutes, then people could potentially sign up for that if you just put a link to it. And then you could send an invite out there, that would get people to join if folks wanted to be notified that way. I know it's kind of old school, but
Well, I guess what we do have is we have a meeting. We have our monthly newsletter, and that uh, maybe I forgot to promote it in that, but that hasn't really led to people signing up. And anyway, thank you for the good thinking. Now we turn on notes with AI Companion is how we do it? No. Okay, how do you turn on the note taking? Notes.
I think just AI Companion does that, doesn't it?
I see a notes option, sign in to say.
That'll send, I know I just, when I teach, I enable that, and then after the class is done, I get a summary. So I think
Okay, it says it's already on. So, but I don't see it doing anything, but we can hope that it did a good job last time. It was really quite useful. And one of you went in and edited it a little bit, and that was good. So, okay, so AI Companion has a little thing that says stop AI Companion. So you're pretty sure that that means that it's going and we don't have to take any action.
I believe that is accurate.
Okay, and it says who will receive a summary after the meeting, and it says only meeting host, but I'll post it. So it must be right. So okay, let's get going. Um, so excellent, Chris. Great to see you. Glad you could come. And Christian, uh, great to have you all here. Wonderful. So let's go ahead and get going with our agenda. Um, and as always, feel free to pop in with things that you have interest in. As you know, on governance, we've been talking about governance for many years now in this group. I did have a good conversation with Nate and Jen of Backdrop about their governance, which has seemed to work out pretty well for them. And they got pulled into the Apache world, the Apache Foundation world, using Apache's pretty mature uh, PMC or Project Management Committee model, and they've been fairly successful. They've had a minor bit of drama, and I got the impression they'd had a couple of things that they wish hadn't happened that did happen, but they've had pretty straightforward path in the now how long's Backdrop been going? More than 10 years now. So I put that on there and would love to have all of you take a look at that. And as always, feel free to raise any other things that you have. Do any of you have experience with the PMC model?
So where did you said you put that on somewhere? What is there a link?
Yeah, thank you. Let me put that, let me put that in the chat here.
Yeah.
So, well, I think Stas already did. So there it is. Yeah, so Stas just did that. It just,
Oh, the 7223. Okay, sorry. I see it.
so, and as Chris says, Chris, do you have any experience with that, or you were just following the link?
Yeah, just sending the link through, but I've never done anything with Apache directly.
So yeah, the Apache Foundation, of course, is the framework for what, dozens of projects. And so you would think that they would have some of these things figured out or sorted out. And that might make an easier path for us. And I do like the fact that Backdrop has been using it successfully with their community, and their governance group is larger than ours, but still both of these are small projects compared to like Drupal or something like that. So it may be a better fit than some, and apparently it scales to larger projects, because as we know, there's many larger projects in there as well. One of the problems that we've had when we've talked about governance in this group for a long time is that most of the models are fancier models for larger groups and that kind of thing. So we want to do something that is that starts out relatively easy to do and that we can work on. And I don't know that we will get the full thing laid down this year, but our goal in 2025 is to make something happen. So probably an update to our founding papers, and a little bit, a step forward. Maybe the step would be all the way to a PMC, but that probably takes some conversation along the way. But anyway, so that any other comments about that? I'll be interested in your comments as the next couple of months go by, if you have any chance to review that or try to understand if you run across any problems that people have had with that model.
So my only question is, I'm on the PMCS page, and I'm trying to find a list of projects that use this model or that are under this umbrella but are not Apache projects. Is there at the very bottom under references, it says who they are, current PMCS or PMCs. But that just shows Apache projects.
Yeah, well, and that's who it's for at that point. I don't think that Backdrop is an Apache project, is it? Or
no, it's not listed there. That's why I'm trying to figure out. Let's see.
No, it's not an Apache
model.
project, but they just took the documentation and the governance model and said, we're going to use this.
right.
Oh, okay. So they're not actually under any umbrella. They're just modeling.
Right.
theirs.
Which
Okay,
is
I understand.
what we would be doing as well. So
All right.
that-
Yeah, so actually this Backdrop CMS link that Chris just posted, yeah, okay, that seems like a good place to start.
Yeah, that sort of explains how they took the model and how it actually works for them.
All right, cool. I'll give that a read.
excellent.
Put that on my reading list.
Any other comments on that path?
So, well, let me ask you another question, since we're here. Were there any, when you talked to Nate and Jen, were there any like downsides, or was there anything that you heard from them that you would think, well, maybe we want to do that differently? Like,
Well, there
what
is
would the delta be, I guess.
there is a classic downside of a small organization with a small board, and that is, how do you choose board members? And the normal way that ends up happening with a small organization is the power center chooses the board members, and then the board members become a power center, and then they choose new board members. And that is a problem for small organizations that do that. It's a very, very, very common thing, but it means that there's no way in for outsiders, and there's typically not a good way to introduce people to it. So they've had what's the right word? They've wished that it could be otherwise with them, but their world is still that, where the current power people choose the new power people. And that's not bad, but it is not a way to increase it to spread knowledge and understanding and that kind of thing. So as you know, Drupal has a way to bring some power in from the community, but it requires an enormous amount of effort with the whole voting process and all that kind of thing. Typo 3's membership process is probably very mature, and they give one vote to every entity on most things. So an ordinary member like me has a vote. Like, actually, I'm not entirely sure, but they have many agencies that have power, and they do it that way. And of course, there's a company there, so they have all kinds of things going on. I think their situation has been more financially and governance-wise stable than like Drupal's or something like that. But again, it's also much, much bigger than anything that we would want to envision at this point in our history. Because we want to do something that doesn't have a lot of overhead, that accomplishes what it needs to do, and that carries us forward and allows us to learn how to make decisions appropriately, but well, as time goes on. So anyway, I think the backdrop model, the PMC model, may give us the smaller organization way to do that.
So here's a crazy idea. I started a new project, basically completely unrelated to any of this. I just started quizzing Copilot for ideas on a new on a new form of democracy, and something that worked for humans and this kind of thing. What about quizzing AI for a form of governance? And like if you use Perplexity, it has access to the web, so you could get it to pull in the backdrop page, you could get it to pull in the Apache model, and then ask it, say that you're looking for something low overhead, a way to, solve some of these issues. You may get something useful, you never know.
I find that to be a very useful technique, because when you're looking for a new perspective, sometimes AI is a good way to get the perspective, because it may find some angles that you don't know. So that's a good one. And I haven't tried the deep research options. That would be a good candidate for that as
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
So
I
thanks
think
for the good
the
idea.
other important data point to that we'd want to consider adding is like what are the goals? Like, what are
Exactly.
the goal, like what do we want the board to be? Like what do we want? Is the goal of the board just to provide guidance? Is the goal of the board to to increase the number of like what are the goals? Because I think that's an important input that we need. If we want to avoid the whole power center, issue that backdrop folks, have had their challenges with. One of the goals might be that, 1 out of the 3 or 1 out of the 5 board members must have, less than X number of years experience with DDEV.
Right. Yeah.
What are the criteria
Yeah.
that you want for the board? I think would be an interesting set of inputs.
Yeah,
Of course,
especially
the
with
problem,
experience.
you do end up with the problem and the reason that you end up with insiders on a board is that they're the ones that are engaged and committed and willing to spend the time, like you are here today. I mean, a board would probably be made up of these people that are here today, right? When we move from an advisory group to a PMC or a board or something like that, because you're the people who show up and who are invested in many ways. So that's I mean, it's just a kind of a built-in problem with a mostly volunteer type organization.
Yeah, but you've had specific experience, right, where things have gone badly awry. So I think you know the good questions to ask.
Yeah, well, I know I know a thing to be very afraid of.
Yeah, well,
And
see,
of course, all of us have seen several of us have a lot of experience with the Drupal world, and Drupal has had some real governance and drama issues that we don't ever want to see or be around at any time in our life. And those aren't necessarily a result of the governance model that it chose, but it certainly is not something that we want to do or be like or be around or anything like that. So
Yeah.
anyway, good thinking, and we will be spending more time with it this year, and at least making a step farther toward more formal governance this year. So that's good. Next thing on the agenda is a step that we probably have made some progress on, is that Mike Anello, who's here, actually he's been a signer on the bank account for, I don't know, a year, maybe more than a year. But we haven't really used that for anything except tests. But we did get him set up, hopefully to be able to make invoice payments. So we did a practice on that this week, and it didn't go perfectly, so we'll probably have to do it again. But kind of a test invoice from, we got a good way to set up a Google group. And so we have an accounts-payable at ddev.com where invoices go to, and Mike receives that, and Mike was able to make an invoice payment using wise.com, which is what we use to pay Stas. So that was good. It wasn't a full success because Mike got stuck in the middle and wasn't able to approve the final action, but we may have sorted that out. So this is another step toward successful redundancy, and I'm really happy that we pulled that off. It's one more thing that isn't just me, and that we can find our way forward on. So happy with that, and thank you, Mike, for being willing to do that stuff. And it will be our intent not to have that cost you very much in time or mental energy.
And if you want to do additional tests, you can send me money. I'll be okay with
Yeah,
that.
that's right. We could. There you go. And we have a private repository where we try to document procedures, both technical, and this was the first one that we tried to document a financial pattern. And we did do that, did a PR, pulled it. So we have that, it's called maintainer info, I think. It's a private repository. We try not to put really sensitive things in it, but we put things that are slightly more sensitive in there instead of putting them in public place. So, and we did discover a couple of other things that need to go in there. For example, the accounting that I do for these meetings that we'll look at in a minute, that is on the to-do list there to see how that works. So we'll be working on that. And we have screencasts for some of those. They get out of date, of course, but they are useful and they can be replaced. So I wanted to point out Stas's work on the official add-ons. Stas went through all of the add-ons and updated them to current best practices. It was an amazing piece of work that he could take that on and stick to it. And I mean, not only was the technical angle of what he did lovely, but he also captured what needed to be done, did it for all of those official add-ons, and then wrote a blog post about it that explained all the procedures and kept his wits about him at the time. I mean, that a lot of that is not very fun stuff. So, but he kept very impressive work. Very impressive work. If you didn't see the blog post, I'll give you the link here. He titled it Add-on Maintenance Guide. And here it is in the it is here. But he went through in great detail about all of the best practices that he has now codified. And it was a very significant improvement to all of those add-ons and to the basis of the add-ons and to the template. He made sure that all these things made it into the add-on template so that new add-ons will pick up these new best practices.
Yeah, it's still a bit work in progress, but we are going to pull this in.
Yeah, it is really, it is great stuff, a great step forward. I think all of you know that that the add-ons are far more popular than we ever would have thought. And now we have what, 120 some or 130 some add-ons that people have put the label on. And as a result, there's a wide variety of things out there because it's very, very easy to create one. And so systematizing that a bit more and setting best practices is a really great thing, and making sure that the official ones have good usage. So
There was a
congratulations, Stas. Go ahead, Mike.
blog post about that at some point, right? About
Yeah, I just posted it in the chat.
no, not about what Stas just did, but about the usage of add-ons. Wasn't there? Am I misremembering? I'm just
Like,
going through the blog
like-
post right now, the old
Like
one.
telemetry for downloads or something, or
Yeah, if we don't have like a recent, like that should be like an annual blog post almost, just to shine some more light on, you know, some of those and usefulness.
yeah, like so you're saying a blog post that says, here's my 10 favorite add-ons.
Yeah, or the 10 most used add-ons, or you know, here's the, you know, the most popular, you know, new add-on from the last 12, you know, stuff like that, just to kind of, you know, expose add-ons a little bit more to folks. Because I know I it's not that I forget about them, but a lot of times I don't think that, oh, I might be able to do this with an add-on.
Yeah, so AI, add that to our follow-ups to-do list, because that's a good idea. That's an excellent topic.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, also, there is a recent change. We used to keep alive workflow for add-ons, and we can't use it anymore because it was banned from GitHub. So tests can stop after 60 days of inactivity, and people may need to reactivate the tests on these add-ons.
Yeah, so GitHub actions automatically stop if there are no commits for 60 days. They just don't, I mean, like nightly runs. And we used to have a workaround for that was great. And GitHub decided that was a violation of the terms of service. So that add-on is no longer there. They actually killed it. I mean, sorry, that GitHub action is no longer there. So we had to take it out of the template. Or actually, it came out of the GitHub action that the template uses.
This is for the documentation or just the website, or what?
No, it's for the automated tests. So
Oh,
as you know, everything in tech becomes obsolete or becomes broken shockingly fast if it's not maintained. And so the DDEV add-ons have built-in tests that test against both head and stable of DDEV, and they test against head and released version of themselves. And so we get great uh, early news about problems when things break, which is wonderful. But now that GitHub has blown that off so that we can't automatically, well, so now that those tests, those nightly tests might automatically stop after 60 days of no commits, we might not get that feedback from some add-ons. All of our DDEV official add-ons, we have another way to measure that. And so we have a monitoring tool that tells us either when they break or when they stop running. So the official ones we have covered, but the other ones we don't. So does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it'd be good to get everyone to adopt one, and then just make a small PR to it that like added a period to end of a sentence or something, and do that once every 60 days, and that'll keep them going, right?
That's actually what that's what one of these things used to do, but you can't automate that anymore,
Got it.
or GitHub will come after you. So next item, I don't think we talked about this last time. The XH GUI feature, which was sponsored by the Typo 3 community budget idea, um, came through. They haven't sent us the money yet, but they will. But that was a wonderful thing, and it's a real step forward in doing performance studies of your projects. I think some of you have probably tried it out. I see a number of people trying it out and liking it. It's a lot easier to use than the previous XH Prof support that we've had for years. But it's great stuff. Have you tried out the XH GUI stuff? No. It belongs in the book, Selwyn.
Sorry. Okay, I'll get on it.
If all of you don't know, Selwyn has this enormous book, free book online that has everything he has ever learned about Drupal in it. And it's all searchable and you can do a PR to it. So it's great stuff. And
Really?
it has enormous coverage for DDEV, excellent coverage for DDEV, including some things that we don't sometimes talk about in our own DDEV docs because they're someone's personal approach to DDEV, which is great.
It's better than most of the Drupal.org documentation as well. I mean, it's really good.
Oh, thanks, Colin.
Yeah, well, because it's because one person is taking care of it and cares and doesn't have to do what, it doesn't anyway. It's excellent. It's excellent. Did somebody just put a link in there, Selwyn,
Sure.
so that everybody has that? And I think the XH GUI is going very, very well. And we did run into a couple of minor little implications of it that are working quite well now. Stas figured out how to solve a couple of them and that kind of thing. I did go to DrupalCon Atlanta. I got to see some of you there, and that was delightful. That was fun. That was kind of a collaboration. Bernardo had a spare room, and Platform paid for the ticket to get there, and I got a free ticket to DrupalCon. But I did, and so it was good, and I did a bunch of BOFs, which is what I typically do because I never get sessions accepted. And it was a good experience, and it was fun to see people, and I always enjoy those Yeah, Chris, you're right. Yeah, thanks to Platform for that airline ticket because it was more expensive than it should have been. That never can understand why those vary so much. I did want to ask your opinion about events and DDEV. Um, Obviously, with our financial situation, we have to be careful and targeted with our money. And events are typically expensive, although we might get lucky again in the future with cobbling together things like that. But I'd be interested in what this group has to say about about the where we should prioritize in-person events that are expensive. Should I be trying to get to some of those, or should we let them, you know, maybe work out like this one did, or any thoughts about that? Like how high should the priority be of that type of thing? A side note, I used to get to all the important Drupal events because Platform paid the whole way.
I mean, I think it's important to put it out there that, you know, you're willing to go to events, but you would need some sponsorship. Like that's more than fair, and I think there's enough events out there who maybe not provide the full sponsorship, but you know, cobble stuff together like DrupalCon. The other thing which I think might be useful is, you know, and it would require some, like, you know, I'm thinking like PHP Tech, like some of the big PHP conferences. Just because I think there's a lot of untapped potential at events like that. But going in cold where you don't know anyone or you don't have like a buddy to, you know, or someone to introduce you and to kind of make those connections is difficult. But I think that should be like a longer term goal for, if not you, then someone in the DDEV community to start making those connections and start, you know, we've got a good thing going with, you know, we've got, you know, good connections with a lot of, you know, CMS communities. I think the next logical step would be, you know, good connections in the PHP community and find out like what, you know, what is DDEV missing or what can DDEV offer to folks who are just kind of pure PHP developers or smaller project developers or even larger project developers. I think that's kind of the natural evolution of where DDEV should look next as far as, you know,
You know,
not just users, but honestly sponsorships as well.
last year or year before, I went to the Craft CMS .all in Barcelona, and that was really very successful. And I got to meet, you know, and establish excellent
Yeah.
connections with a number of people. And not only that, but they paid. I submitted a session, and they paid
Yeah.
much of my expenses. I think it was combined with a DrupalCon trip in Europe as well, but they actually paid. You know, it's unlike Drupal where like you're paying for it all yourself and doing a session and getting there and all those things. You get a ticket, but not much else.
Yeah.
Some of these things actually have a speaker's whatever you call it, but anyway, you end up with some coverage for it. And so if I pay attention to that, it that may help. But I do like, to me, I don't want to go to any conference that I don't know how to contribute at because they're really boring if you don't have a way to contribute. I
Yeah,
just
you need the connector. You need someone who is already comfortable in that community to connect you.
so that's what I need to do is figure out if I want to go to one, can I find a friend there who can get me in there and figure out a way to contribute one way or another, whether it's a full session or some other thing like the BOFs that we do at DrupalCons
Yeah.
and stuff.
The other one I was thinking of is there's a big like Linux fest. Is it Los Angeles or Southern California? There's like a huge, I remember because Amy June has talked to me about it a few times. But I think those events might be interesting for DDEV, and DDEV might be interesting for those events as well.
Yeah, there's some great open source events too, like OSCON and stuff like that
Yeah.
that I know that I would enjoy if I could figure out how to contribute at them. But like I say,
I
I
mean,
haven't,
that might be worth a blog post as well, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. Just, hey,
we need
are
to
you out
find
there
Randy a
somewhere?
friend.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay,
Randy
AI,
needs
add
a
that to
friend.
the follow-ups.
Anyway, all right, I'll be
Good
quiet.
idea. Good idea. Okay. Um, yeah, so those are some good ideas. Oh, I would love to have your help. The Typo 3 community budget ideas are quarterly. And as you know, we got in on the first quarter. We didn't get our suggestion accepted in the second quarter, but now it's time for the third quarter. And so I'm looking, and I'd like to do this in the next 2 weeks. I would like to propose something that would be a great feature for DDEV, which um, would be attractive to the Typo 3 community. I think the Q2 proposal was probably a little too, maybe people didn't understand it well enough to get them to vote for it. So considering the audience, like we got the XH GUI, people seem to understand this is going to improve their performance study techniques, and they got great value out of it, and the whole DDEV community got great value out of that new feature. But now I need that for the Q3 proposal. And so I'm really interested in your ideas of things that could be powered by essentially a grant from Typo 3. If you have any now, that would be wonderful. But if you have any in the next two weeks, that would be wonderful too. One thing that Stas and I talked about was trying to improve the coverage on our code spaces work to make it really fill the role that Gitpod did. I don't know whether people will understand that either. Like the Typo 3 community will understand that as well. The Drupal community really understood the value of Gitpod and DrupalPod, but the Typo 3 community may not as much. But I'm really interested in ideas that you might have so that we could propose those to that Q3 budget idea. Because it's 5 to 10,000 euros. It's a significant improvement for our budget, and it's essentially a grant technique that they're providing, so it's great. Anyway, interested in what you have to say and would love to hear from you if you come up with ideas. Next thing is that I am going to be doing a bikepacking trip, a backcountry bikepacking trip where you carry your own stuff off in the woods of New Mexico for about a month. A couple of friends and I are leaving somewhere around May 3rd, 23rd, in a couple of, it's just over a couple of weeks. And I'm not going to carry a computer this time. I won't be very reachable. We'll rarely have internet. And so Stas will carry on as he always does. Everything's good. That has given us a chance to try out the financial things with Mike. So that's good. It should be. I did the entire route of the Great Divide mountain bike route from, well, actually in two different times. I've done in 2003 and 2014. I've done massive parts, but in 2014, now in 2003, we couldn't do some of the New Mexico sections because the rain came down and made everything into mud. So we had to take the go rounds. So we're hoping that by starting a little earlier in the year that we can go through some of those sections that people often have to go around. When you hit that Adobe mud and bikes do not mix. there are stories of people abandoning their bikes out in the mud. So anyway, I don't anticipate any trouble. And as you know, Stas has all the keys of the kingdom and knows everything there is to know and does a great job with support and everything else there is. So it's a wonderful situation. On finances, we are cruising along essentially where we were. We have a little bit of extra funds in our bank account, about $7,000. The this month, both Stas and I were able to invoice at the billing cap that we have been doing, about $5,000. That's the first time that we've both done that. I don't know whether, well, I won't need to do that in May or June, so that'll let us get ahead. And so are you interested in taking a look at the actual details of the finances? Usually we don't. We put them out there. I don't know whether anybody even clicks through to them. So, okay, well, what else is on your mind? What thoughts do you have? Do you have questions or priorities or things that we should put on the to-do list or anything of that type?
No, the only, you and I have talked about this, but I have some ideas for fundraising, and I've had a draft email to you for like a month that I just have to go back and revisit and finish up, and that's kind of still where my head, just to help you with the financial stuff, provide some input on governance, and then maybe some fundraising ideas as well. So that's kind of where my head's at with all this stuff. And
I think we've talked about this before, but the actual work of pestering organizations that aren't interested and begging them to send us more money and them not responding to emails is not a great thing, and I'm a little sick of that. But the flip side is you probably saw that DDEV, thanks to a number of people collaborating now, DDEV.com now has the information about where we're at on our goal on the top of it, which is really lovely. And the Drop Times also has that on theirs. So the Drop
they're
Times
up to date yet? Theirs was like not up to date for a while.
No, well, no, there's what they just haven't ever set the right stuff in theirs. I don't know. Anyway,
Not that big of a deal, but that's very nice of them.
But well, it's not just nice of them. They essentially forced me to make the public data feed so they could do that. So I hadn't, now we have a public data feed that shows what our situation is and why, and we can look at that anytime. And so that was even more of a gift than them putting that banner on their site. So it really is quite excellent. But I've pestered him about that to try to get it, to where it's accurate like ours is. Ours is exactly accurate, which is great. Stas worked on that and Bernardo worked on that, and the guy that contributed the widget in the first place did that. So thanks to all of them, it was great.
If it would be helpful, I'd be glad to host it on my site.
Yeah, it's really easy. There's a little widget that you can just put on there.
Okay,
That'd be great.
I'll do it. Absolutely.
But I know you're always trying to raise a little money for Triple at your fingertips too. But
don't worry about that. I'm glad to help in any way I can.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'd be very welcome. The DDEV.com issue that was, you'll find that in the DDEV.com issue and the PR very easily. And it's all you have to, there's not much to it. And Stas can give you any guidance that you need as well.
Speaking of that, I just went to send you some money and I clicked on the sponsor now button and it opened a window and I went to do it one time and I click select, it does nothing. This is in Chrome on a Mac, but I went to my PC on Edge and it's working fine. Just FYI.
You're talking about on the GitHub sponsors page.
Yeah, I clicked the sponsor now from the tool at the top and
Right, and that
I
takes
just
you
sent-
to
tried
GitHub
to
sponsor.
send some
Anyway, I'm
money.
happy to help you with that and look at it and understand what happened with it. That'd be great. So, and thank you.
Randy,
Yeah.
do you have like a target account list for financial supporters who you are intentionally like trying to go after? And is there, if they're not responding to you, like, is there a way others of us who are already supporters could, at different points, reach out to different contacts at those organizations or something like that? Like, do we think it would mean something different to hear from other people like them, in job function or company or whatever, saying, here's why I'd like to see you support DDEV too, versus you as, sort of the face of DDEV?
Yes, I think that would be outstanding. And I do have a significant list of hosting companies and agencies that I haven't been working on this year because agencies and hosting companies are just doing terrible. So maybe in another year they won't be doing so terrible, but there's no way that they're waking up to do a discretionary uh, support of a little organization like DDEV when they're having to lay people off. So, but yes, I do, and yes, that's a good idea, and your engagement would be wonderful.
All right. Well, if you set things up and tee it up, I'm certainly glad to follow up on that.
Very cool. Thank you. AI, you can add that to the follow-ups as well. Anybody else have anything on their mind? I know we're getting to the end of our time, and I very much appreciate you coming and your thoughtfulness and your long-term support. You're great.
Well, Randy, I don't know if that's the right time here also, but we were talking about the DDEV exec executing commands and mirroring error codes. You know probably what I mean.
Is there an open issue about that?
Yeah, there is an issue about that, and I wanted to work on that, but I didn't find the time so much. So I just wanted to give you feedback that I want to come back to you with that. So
We love to have you.
yeah.
You may not all know that Jonas has contributed some very, very impressive technical contributions to DDEV that are very much appreciated, and we'd love to have you work on that.
I hope you don't think that it's impossible, maybe. So I think I should talk to you first before.
Yep. Well, yeah, just poke back into the issue and make it alive, and there will be. So,
I have to drop off as well. I have a meeting in 7
Alrighty.
minutes to prep for. Good to see
thank you all so much. I appreciate it, and have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Randy, I do have another question on the.
Yeah. I'll stick around as long as anybody's interested.
Yeah, so I clicked on the website on support DDEV, and it looks like the only way that we're actually able to put money in is through GitHub.
No, actually, if you look at the page that it links to, it tells all the other ways that you can do it, including PayPal, invoicing. But it's not clear, and that's one of our definite goals for this year, is to use a page on ddev.com that is much clearer. But the GitHub sponsors page that it links to has all of the other ways. And we have a number of organizations that
I
give
see it. That's-
that do invoicing. And PayPal is there.
Yeah.
But GitHub Sponsors is the one that GitHub Sponsors is the one that people are most likely to use. And even though it costs something, it is very, very effective because people just stick with it month after month.
I on my page, on my site, I added you know, buy me a coffee, Venmo, you name it. I added them all. Not that anyone pays anything. I'm not, you know, I think I've gotten $30 total, but you know,
Providing them more options does not get more money, does it?
you know, the thing is, why did GitHub hang up on me here? I don't know. Maybe it's an ad blocker or something, but it works fine on my PC on Chrome. No, what is the browser I've got here?
Yeah, try it incognito or with a
Yeah.
different browser or that kind of thing. I think people are fairly successful with it. So
Well, if I'm failing, I suspect that means some people are failing. So I just want to
Thank
make sure we give
thank you
give
for
it the
investigating that.
opportunity.
Yeah,
we
thank you for investigating that. And if you don't get an obvious solution quickly, then we'll if you don't, I'm happy to do a screen share with you and take a look. Not that I will necessarily know how to solve it, but
Yeah. No, it's just I click it, it just goes away, it just does nothing.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
it on Edge, it's fine. It's taking
Yeah.
me to the next page and
Yeah.
asking me for, you know, credit information.
Yeah, it probably is your browser's config.
That's no good. No good at all. All right, cool.
All righty. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks, Das. Thanks, Selwyn. Great to see you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming.
Bye.
All righty.
Bye.